All right, let's peek under the hood of the internet at one of its most critical parts, DNS, the domain name system. Think of it as the internet's phone book. And you know what's wild? It's built on a foundation that prizes raw speed over, well, pretty much everything else, including guaranteed reliability.
Welcome to Super Courseva. Unlock the secrets of the internet and master computer networking. Let's dive in.
And that right there is the big question, isn't it? Every single time you go to a website, you're using DNS. It's the absolute backbone of your online life. So it just feels wrong that it would run on a system that is officially, technically, called unreliable. It's like finding out a skyscraper was built with materials that might not hold up. What on earth is going on here? Well, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to meet the two main contenders for how data gets sent around the internet. It was basically a bake-off between two totally different philosophies for getting a message from point A to point B. And here they are. On one side, you've got TCP. Let's call him the Bureaucrat. He is meticulous. He guarantees that every single piece of your message arrives, and in the right order. But oh my gosh, the paperwork. He checks, double-checks, and confirms every single step. And on the other side, that's UDP, the messenger. She's all about speed, fast, efficient, no frills. She just sends the message and moves on. No guarantees, just pure, unadulterated velocity. Okay, so let's throw these two into the ring and see how they actually perform a real-world DNS task. We're going to count the exact number of digital messages or packets it takes for each of them to look up a single website address. And trust me, this is where the choice for DNS becomes incredibly obvious. First up is the Bureaucrat, TCP. And just look at this process. Before it can even ask its question, it has to do a formal 3-step handshake to open a connection. Then it sends the request and has to wait for an I got it message. And for just one lookup, it often has to talk to 3 different servers, doing a full connection and teardown with each one. Finally, it gets the answer, sends another acknowledgement, and then goes through a whole formal process to close everything down. It is exhausting just talking about it. And the grand total for all that bureaucratic red tape? 44. That's right, 44 separate packets flying across the internet just to find the address of one website. The amount of chatter here is just staggering. Keep that number, 44, in your head. Now, let's watch the messenger UDP do the exact same job. It's so much cleaner. Your computer sends one tiny packet out that basically says, hey, where's this website? Your local server does the legwork, has a few quick chats, and once it finds the answer, it sends one single packet back to you. That's it. Done. No handshakes, no acknowledgements, no formal goodbyes. And the packet count for UDP's super direct route? Just 8. 8 packets from start to finish. We went from a bureaucratic nightmare of 44 packets all the way down to a lean, mean 8. And when you see them side by side like this, well, it's not even a contest, is it? For the tiny, constant, rapid-fire questions that DNS handles all day long, using TCP would be like sending a massive shipping container just to deliver a postcard. UDP is the clear, and I mean obvious, winner for this job. But this brings us right back to that scary word, unreliable. If UDP is just firing off these postcards with no guarantee, what happens if one of them just vanishes into the digital ether? You know, a postcard lost in the mail? Isn't that a massive problem? Well, the solution DNS uses is actually wonderfully simple and pragmatic. It doesn't bother with some complex recovery system, it just sets a timer. If your computer sends a request and doesn't hear anything back in about 2 seconds, it just shrugs and says, must have gotten lost, and simply asks again. It's a good enough solution that works perfectly because the messages are so small and cheap to send in the first place. Now, this doesn't mean our reliable bureaucrat, TCP, is totally out of a job. Oh no, there is one very specific time where its slow, methodical, and guaranteed approach is exactly what's needed. See, the messenger, UDP, is fantastic for sending postcards. But what happens when the answer isn't just a simple address? What if it's a whole book? Some DNS responses, especially ones with a ton of complex security info, are just too big to cram into a single little UDP packet. So how does the system handle this? Simple. When a DNS server has a huge answer, it sends back a tiny UDP response with a special signal inside, called a truncated flag. And that flag is basically the server saying, hey, I've got your answer, but it's way too big for a postcard. You're gonna have to call in the bureaucrat and open up a proper TCP connection to get the whole file. And ultimately, that's why all of this matters to you. This very deliberate choice To go with speed over perfect, guaranteed reliability for 99.9% of requests is a huge reason why the web feels so instantaneous. Every time you click a link, every app you open, dozens of these tiny 8-packet UDP lookups are happening in the blink of an eye, keeping the whole internet humming along. So it kind of leaves us with a cool thought, right? We live in a world that's often obsessed with perfection, with 100% reliability. But DNS is a powerful reminder that sometimes a simple, fast, good enough solution is actually way more effective than a perfect but clunky one. It really makes you wonder, where else is that true?